Welcome to the Manager Matt podcast show. The show is designed to give you solutions to your day-to-day management and leadership problems. It's hosted by Matthew Haddock, a frontline manager and leader with over 25 years of experience. If you're ready, then let's get on with the show.
Hello, welcome to the show. This week, I want to return to my ideas of the big five of leadership. And this week is around monitoring results and using a process. Right, without any more delay, let's get on with this week's show. Welcome to the Manager Matt podcast show. Hope you're all keeping well and delivering the results you want with and through others. This week's show, I'm going to come back around to the idea of the big 5/6 of leadership. Just to remind those, if you haven't already listened to the shows before, the big 5 in my mind of a leader are different to some of the management ones I've talked around, although the management tools are definitely interchangeable and should be used by good leaders across the piece. But when it comes to leadership, I identified 5 areas where I think that leaders do add value. And the caveat to that is there is a 6th as well, but that's just me being funny. So the first one was setting the purpose and the why. Second one was setting the direction and the standards. The third one was setting the goal with a plan and involving people. And the one we're going to talk about today is around monitoring the results and using the process. And the last 2 are holding people to account, celebrating results. And the last is dealing with the problems as you are accountable. So we're going to look at number 4 of my 5/6, and it's around monitoring results and using the process. So as a leader, in a business, when you are a leader and you're setting the direction, so this is one of those areas where you are going to be judged on the results. And a number of times you may have heard me say that leaders and managers are judged on delivering results, because that is exactly what we are there for. Things have moved and changed in the world, and there is the feeling that maybe these are lesser of things, which I can't get my head around, because I've never worked in a business that didn't need results. And it can have every single enjoyable process, every away day, every pancake Tuesday, fruity Friday, butty, Monday that you like. But it comes down to results. And if you don't deliver results and you don't get the costs right, or the quality of the product right, or the delivery of the right, then you're not going to be in business for long. Or the business is going to have to change, because you have to make sure you're cutting your cloth to suit the costs of your business. And that's a real basic way of thinking around any business, really. How do I make sure my business is hitting the results and really make sure it's delivering those results that it needs? So don't ever forget that. So when it comes down to this, you can have all the kudos in the world and engagement, as we've said, but if you're not getting the results right, you're not going to be around for long. So you need to monitor the results as a leader. And it all depends on your function and your role, what results will really be driven into you. So if you're a financial person, it might be around delivering the monthly reports. It might be doing the month end correctly. It might be doing the invoices. It might be making sure the payment dates are low. Make sure the inventory isn't too expensive. Make sure the CapExes are being paid for on time. Those are maybe the drivers. So how do you monitor those results? If it's in a production environment, it's definitely going to be around the way that you are doing your work. Are you safe? Are you delivering to the standard? Are you delivering on time to that standard? If you're thinking warehousing, Amazon's an amazing model. And it amazes me now, maybe it's an age thing, but it still amazes me that, I can pay for things with my phone, so that's probably not a good example, but it amazes me that you can order something literally at 3 p.m. and by 7 or 8 at night it's arrived. Some obscure, bizarre things can be ordered and arrive on time. And that is all around having good monitors of results. There will be, I would have thought, never worked for Amazon, many metrics that drive that behaviour. And that's the idea of using a process to get the right results. You need to monitor the right results, if that makes sense. So there's no point in monitoring the wrong results. There's no point in monitoring things that you cannot affect. A number of times I've been into areas where people are recording and monitoring a KPI that they can have no impact in. You're making sure things are on track when you've got good monitors and good results that are monitored. If you've got poorly monitored and poorly set results, then funnily enough, you'll get poor outcomes. And that's making sure you use the process to deliver those results. So if it is cost per kilo, if you're in that kind of manufacturing, how do you measure it? Is the first one. So you've got to make sure your data is accurate. How are you accurately monitoring that information? Is it through an electronic system? So is the data being fed to you by a system? And is it validated, that data? So I say about that process, I say again, are you making sure the process validation is there? Do you then have a way of presenting that data in a timely manner? I mentioned in a past podcast around having good meetings means that you're not always looking backwards. Some of these are lag statistics and lag data, but do they really drive you forward? In some way they do. You've done worse last month than this month. You've done worse this month than last year, and a like for like. But does it actually have a driving factor to make you better? Because there's no point in having a number on a board that no one really understands. I went into a business once and they were measuring a certain dwell time, if you like, how long something stood there as a percentage. And every day they'd walk in and go, oh, this is great, it's green. Oh, this is green. And or a percent, I can't remember a percentage. It was 100%, I think, with the target. But when I dug in and said, well, what does that actually mean? What does that percentage mean to you? Oh, well, it's got to be green, it's got to be 100%. No, what is it? Well, it's this card. No, what is it? And they didn't know. They were reporting a number as green, but they actually didn't understand what it was about, what the actual impact of that number meant. In the instance, it was around stock holding. So how much stock did you have in your business and how much were you converting into finished products? Because the amount of stock that's holding obviously costs money. So it was all around that. But that was a bit of an idea of a poor monitor because it was something they didn't really understand, something they couldn't really affect because you were waiting for stuff to arrive that were coming from a long way out, that some of the stock had a long life so it could stay. And although it's an expense and maybe you could make less, you had a minimum order quantity. So those are the things that you're going to be aware of when you've got these results. And the process. So how do we then make those results alive? So the process from a number to something living can be quite interesting. Sometimes you'll record waste, for instance, in businesses, and they'll say cases or number of cases. But if you started putting numbers to it, as in monetary numbers, everyone in the world understands what money is. They've got money in their pockets or in their banks. So they understand money. So if you put waste into money, they start to see and realise it. Now, if you've linked them into your purpose, then they'll understand that money being wasted, thrown in the skip, or not correct on the first pass is all money that is wasted and is going to go the wrong way for their business. So that's another way of driving in a good metrics, is showing it in the right format. When it comes to who should know it, I'm a big believer in cascading it. If you think of a safety number and a safety metric, it's very good that everyone understands the biggest hazard in their business. So that's important to do it. And it's a good to have a metric around reducing that by risk assessments, by behaviour safety observations. Those are things that can be really practical when you're driving down the accident rates, for instance. But there's also a number of areas where you might not show everything. So if it's a profit and loss on a P&L, that's not something that's shared with everyone, because it can be really out of their realm, that they wouldn't even understand it. Not saying that anyone is not capable of understanding it, but they won't have had the instructions or time to really dig into it. But also, does it drive anything that's practical? What can they do? So that monitoring of the results and using the process is key to this fourth area of the big five of leadership. It's also making sure that you are using those metrics to drive behaviour, but not overdo it. A number of companies that over-egg the metrics. You'll have a board pack that'll have 50 KPIs, something crazy. It's like they cannot all be as important. They can't all be key. And obviously KPIs, key performance indicators, the idea is key. What is key? And if they're not key and they're just indicators, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with having indicators. But if you're meant to be a key indicator, then make sure that they are the key ones that drive the behaviour. Try to minimise them so you don't get blind to them. You may have areas that report in, say, a technical area or something that's an IT in very, very targeted areas. So let them use those. But don't just be careful not to spread it too thin and have too many metrics that drive really the wrong behaviours or drive no behaviours. There's nothing worse than a monitoring of a result that actually has no impact and nothing changes. There's one I used to do where it was about the inward goods quality was a good example, and they'd record it at 20% failure, which is very high and needed a lot of work on it. But the metrics had been 20% for so long and it'd been read on the dashboards for so long that people just didn't even talk about it. They just went straight past it. I was 20% again. And you can see straight away you've not got the right result, you're not monitoring the right result, and you're not using a process to drive that result in the right direction. So that's my thoughts on number 4. So it's monitoring the results and using the process. And that is where we will kind of be springboarding into the next one, where it's around holding people to account and celebrating the success. And I want you to celebrate, I'm hoping, my success in this podcast. So please, can you do me a favour? Firstly, if you're listening on a podcast, which you probably are, just share it with somebody else. One person, share it, let them know. If you pick up on LinkedIn, some people might see me on LinkedIn. Just send it on. Let somebody else see it. Share it. That'd be great. Get people listening to it. This is a completely free cast. I make no money out of this. It's a complete hobby for me. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy spreading hopefully useful information to people, and hopefully it allows you to be better managers and leaders in the future. And secondly, if there's anything you want extra, if there's any feedback or if anything you'd like to share with me, please send it to managermattpodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to engage on new and old topics. Well, that's it for Manager Matt this week. Thanks for listening, and goodbye.
Thank you so much for listening to this Manager Matt podcast. We hope you found it interesting, helpful and actionable. One last thing, please leave a quick review on iTunes or with your podcast provider, as it helps to spread the word of Manager Matt. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the podcast. And if you did like anything in particular, send an email to managermattpodcast@gmail.com or visit managermatt.co.uk for more content. Feedback is a gift, so let's keep giving. See you next week.